Hey folks, this is Kalani. Welcome back to the Blackrock Foundry raid guide for normal and heroic. This time we'll be looking at HANS'GAR and FRANZOK.
Your bones will be crushed to dust!
This fight consists of a single phase, and for the majority of the time you'll be taking on both bosses. For the most part, the bosses are pretty much the same. They have the same abilities and they even share the same health pool. This means you want to tank them close together and cleave them as much as possible, multi-dot, all that good stuff. It's going to be a huge DPS increase if you can sustain it. So let's have a look at their abilities. The first one I want to touch on is Pumped Up. Basically, when they take damage, they gain rage. That rage increases the effectiveness of all their other abilities. So as the fight goes on and as you draw close to killing them, their abilities become more and more powerful. Specifically, they'll deal more melee damage, increase the amount of hammers thrown by Skullcracker, reduce the cast time of Disrupting Roar, and increase the number of jumps performed in Body Slam. So let's have a look at those abilities next. Skullcracker will throw a hammer to a random raid member. It's basically unavoidable damage, so it just needs to be healed through. Disrupting Roar is an interrupt within 100 yards. It's pretty stable, pretty basic, just don't cast while it's being cast. Body Slam is a little interesting. They'll target random raid members and leap towards them. They'll have a nice arrow on top of their head so it's easy to see who's got it, and then body slam them. It does a little bit of damage, but the point here is the debuff. They apply a debuff called Shattered Vertebrae when they do this, and it increases the physical damage you take by 30%. This cannot be applied to the tanks. Their last ability is Crippling Suplex. It's going to deal a silly amount of damage to both of your tanks. They'll need a large cooldown if you want either of them to survive. And that's it for all of their abilities, but this fight has quite a few environmental dangers as well. These seem to be tied to the percentage health of the boss. At about 85%, HANS'GAR will leap out of the raid and start the conveyor belts. They're going to start moving, so you'll need to keep on top of that. There is a little section in between each of the conveyor belts which doesn't move, but it's not going to be safe from the dangers coming through. The first is Searing Plates. These will cover a small section of one of the conveyor belts, and there's going to be a nice line of them. You'll need to find the one conveyor belt which doesn't have a searing plate, or just move in between them. It's really easy to avoid, and if you go anywhere near them it's going to deal a huge amount of damage to you, so you need to stay clear. At around 70% you'll have both bosses back in the fight and the conveyor belts will stop moving, until around 55% where FRANZOK jumps out, and then you get the stamping presses. These look a lot scarier than they actually are. They'll never press the same place twice, so you can just go back and forth between one little section. They'll continue to stamp until you get to 40% on the boss. You'll have the company of Hans and Franz until 25%, where Hans will jump out and start the conveyor belts once again. You've got more searing plates to deal with until you get to 15%. Hans will jump back into the fight and the stamping presses will start once again. They'll be there until you down the bosses. And that's all there is to this fight. Keep your wits about you, make sure you're not getting crushed by any of those stamping presses. Simply go from one section to another and back. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. The searing plates shouldn't really be an issue, and the rest is pretty much healers and DPS not standing where they shouldn't be. So that should be everything you need to take down Hans and Franz on normal and heroic. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comments section below and I'll try to get back to you. Feel free to check out any of my other guides to Blackrock Foundry, Normal and Heroic. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.